You say that there's 3 broad ways to reverse the damage of trauma.
Yeah.
So if I came to you and I was a traumatized person, whatever that trauma might be, what would step 1 be if I came to you for support with my trauma?
Step 1 is tell me about yourself. Who are you?
Okay.
What do you value? What is working? What do you want to work? And what gets in the way? So at start off, really, language is terribly important. I don't make a list of how screwed up you are. I help to create a DSM at some point, in a very minor role, but the DSM is not a good way of starting off. Namely, how sick are you? I want to know who you are. What is working, what isn't working, what has helped you, what hasn't helped you, what gets in the way. And so we create a map together of who you are. And to some degree, who you are in relationship with me. And I would check a lot with people about, is this helping you? So I don't prescribe. At some point, I may say, well, have you thought about doing some martial arts? Would you be interested in going to a yoga studio? But by and large, I give very little advice. But I help people to discover what is going on and where that leads them in a way.
And then once you've done that, so you find out that I had some early traumatic experience, how do you know, what treatment would you give me?
That is another tricky thing. And that is something, in my book, I tried to do that and I failed. And in my new book, I'm not doing very much better. I would see how agitated you get, how much can you stay in focus. And if I would see that whenever a particular subject comes up, I see you getting agitated or shut down, I would focus on that particular experience. And if I would see that you are sort of chronically agitated, unable to focus, I would say, let's just do something. You should do some things that help to calm your body, your brain down. And I'd say, when you're sort of overall overwhelmed, let's start with yoga or qigong or whatever makes sense to you in terms of how to move your body. And I'd probably do neurofeedback.
What's neurofeedback?
Neurofeedback is you hook your skull up to electrodes that can harvest the underlying brain waves, so you can project your brain activity on a computer screen, and then you can play computer games with your own brain waves to organize your brain waves in a way that you can be more focused and pay more attention.
So I've got some a graph I'll put on the screen for anybody watching, and it shows 5 different types of brain waves.
Yeah.
Gamma brain waves, which are very close brain waves, beta, less close, alpha, less close, theta, less close, and then delta, which is when you're sort of sleep and dreaming. Yeah. The waves are very, very far apart, almost flat. So looking at these different types of brain waves, if we just categorize them from 1 being when the brain waves are really tight and close, to 5, which is delta, when they're really far apart, is 1 gamma, is that like anxiety or something?
No, anxiety is very focused thinking.
Okay, fine.
But it depends on where it is. So the back of your brain is supposed to have these slow waves because your back of the brain is dealing with the housekeeping of your body. So the back of your brain tells you you have to breathe a little bit more, you have to go to the bathroom, you have to eat, you have to... so about bodily regulation, a very large part of your brain is about your body regulation, which got messed up in a major way by trauma. So, for example, when you close your eyes, the back of your brain is supposed to develop nice, slow waves to tell you, I'm feeling peaceful. When you're traumatized, when I ask you to close your eyes, it is very likely that the back of your brain will get agitated and create much faster waves than you should. And so you get a sense of agitation the moment you close your eyes, which is, of course, very detrimental to your health. So my job then becomes how to train your brain so that when you close your eyes, your back of your brain becomes very calm, for example. And so, again, this is not about trauma, it's about brain organization. I mean, so trauma leads to brain organization, but you don't treat the trauma, you treat the brain disorganization.
So for the average person that comes to you, what do you typically end up telling them to do? The average person?
Some people these days, I say, I think it would be very good for you to have a psychedelic experience.
A psychedelic experience?
Yeah.
And you found yourself telling people that more and more recently?
Well, because I have done the research now, and our results were really quite stunning, much better than I ever expected, actually. But I may tell you, no, you're not ready for psychedelics. I think you should really do some neurofeedback and some body practices to live more in your body before we start blowing your mind open.
When you say body practices, we'll get on to psychedelics, but body practices, these are the things you're talking about, like the yoga, the martial arts.
Massages.
Massages. Any massage?
Well, I happen to know some very good body people who, so if you have been beaten up or molested, human touch tends to become very complicated. And so you may not feel comforted by human touch. And other humans may not have a calming effect on your body, which is really what we're supposed to have in each other. So learning to live in a body that can be touched is quite important.
Is touch healing?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, you don't have kids yet?
No.
Well, you have a girlfriend. You know.
Yeah, it's true.
Of course, touch is an elemental human comfort thing.
You described these three broad ways of reversing trauma. The top-down approach, which is, I guess, talk therapy.
Yeah. Talk is understanding inside, etc. Yeah.
And are you a fan of that?
No, basically, I'm such a cerebral person. So I'm very suspicious of that piece. That's, explaining things, understanding things is not my greatest handicap. So I tend to downplay that, the importance of that.
Number two is taking medications.
Yeah.
Which is to shut down the body's alarm signals, essentially.
Yeah.
Are you a fan of that?
Well, that's how I started life off as a psychopharmacologist. I did the first studies ever on Prozac and Zoloft for PTSD. And so they're not bad. They can be helpful to people.
And the third approach, the bottom-up approach, is allowing the body to have experiences that contradict the helplessness or rage or trauma.
Yeah.
And this is really what you focus on, which are called somatic therapies, which target the body rather than the mind.
Yeah. Well, it's a very important piece. And I very much think that's a very big missing piece in the therapy, mental health, and medical field in general, to give people experiences of connection and pleasure. Yeah. That's terribly important. But when I wrote this book before I got into psychedelic therapies, I would add another dimension of experiences that really blow your mind, that really allow you to have an alternate reality experience also.
If you love the Diary of a CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do me a huge favor. Become part of the 15% of the viewers on this channel that have hit the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests.